I went to Beijing. I packed my bags and I didn't have a place to go, but I thought, yeah, I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna start studying Chinese.
Would you say that Germany is not a country for people to come and start their own business? It's not a land of opportunities like, in the US?
There's a reason why there are not that many startups in Germany.
This is John. He's German, a serial entrepreneur, and he's lived everywhere, from Beijing to Berlin. Today, I'm putting him to the test. India versus Germany. Which mindset actually wins? We're keeping a score. And trust me, some of his answers will shock you. Watch till the end to see who takes the crown and which mindset, Indian or German, wins.
Welcome, John, to
Thank
the
you.
podcast. My tagline is that I'm helping people to thrive in Europe, not to survive in Europe, because normally when, expats come here, they tend to live not the best life sometimes in Europe because of a lack of connection and
Right.
not knowing how, not having friends like you who are actually locals, and so yeah, this is the idea. But you have lived in Asia as well, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yeah, so when I finished my university, even before that, but there was a main time when I went to China. I graduated from university in 2018, and I went to Beijing. I packed my bags and I didn't have a place to go, but I thought, yeah, I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna start studying Chinese. And I arrived in Beijing with all my stuff, and I still didn't have a place to go. I didn't have a flat or anything. So the first thing I did was meet up with like an agent. Went to 3 flats. I chose one of them, and that was kind of my start. And I ended up staying for about 5 years. I mean, I guess like 4.5, and in total 5, because before I stayed a bit longer as well. And yeah, it was a really interesting arc of character development, I would say.
Is that a common thing to do? Because I have another friend who's also German who just packed his bags and went to India after his high school.
Yeah, I think like in Europe, but I think also specifically Germans. I think Germans you can see spreading around the world, more individualistic, not as like maybe Spanish, French, a bit more inside a group. But yeah, I think if you come from like such a privileged background where you can just do that, it becomes so easy, right? I think if you come from the other side, going to a very developed, rich country is kind of like the goal. And like, it's funny how if you come from that kind of really like old, rich countries, you like look outwards a little bit to see something else, see the contrast.
Yeah, I mean, it's more about, I think in Europe, the focus is more about finding yourself or living your life in your 20s. I've seen many people who take it very easy. And like when I grew up, I have my cousins who are in 12th standard right now, and everybody's stressed at home.
Right.
What will they do, with their life? They need to take these exams and stuff. And I mean, they're just 17, 16,
Yeah,
and
it's crazy.
I think in Europe, it's like if you're 16, 17, take it easy, go out. But isn't there a sense of insecurity of wasting your youth? I mean, what is the mindset how old were you when you went to China?
I was, so I finished uni, I was like 22, something like that.
So what was like the mindset that
Right.
did you not have the thought that, going to China might hinder my, career or set me back?
No, I think in Germany, generally, like also a lot of my friends, what you do, you finish high school. After high school, you go to the university. After university, you get a job. So it's like a very standard, like traditional kind of way. And that's why I think in Germany, we can be so laid back, because it's just a matter, in my perspective, it's very, very strongly connected to the economic situation, right? If your parents are well off, you grow up, like, you have a country that has a lot of economic security, you have the ability to just be chill, like to not have to worry. And to be honest, also, if you follow that normal path of high school, university, and a job, it's kind of laid out for you. At least it used to be like that a lot more. Like now things are changing like crazy, so I can't really predict where it's going. But back then, it was really laid out for you. And I didn't really like that. Like for me personally, I'm comparing myself to like the general way, where like this laid out path is pretty stable, and there's not that many risks. And so I don't think the pressure, obviously every student has pressure when they have exams, but this future pressure of like, oh, my family, I have to support my family, my family giving me pressure, that doesn't really exist because it's pretty laid out. It's, and there's no huge risk and there's no huge dependency even from the parents, which make a huge difference.
Yeah, you have this sort of a safety net to fall back on.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. Huge.
It's funny, I had this thought as well because as far as I know in Germany, entrepreneurship is something which is not promoted. Because maybe I'm wrong here, but from what I know, that if you fail at doing something, the society might give you the eye that, oh, you tried to open your own business and you failed. Yeah. So entrepreneurship is not quite supported in Germany, but a person in his late 20s or early 30s figuring it out, traveling the world and not knowing where to go, that is sort of like a normalized thing. Do you think that's true?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I think, so I think not late, but early, like after maybe doing high university or after like taking a year off, doing like a gap year, doing something, I think it's quite normal for sure. Like if I look at my friend group, like some they did like went to the US and did like were like you join a family and you teach them, you stay with them, so it's actually quite normalized. I agree. If we talk about doing companies, I also admit that back then it was something that was like Germany is not the most innovative country, and it's also that attitude to taking risk and actually more importantly the attitude towards failure. Because if you do companies, usually you're going to fail. And that is really difficult. Now, again, like things are changing a lot. I think now it becomes more normal. At least maybe it's also my surroundings and what I surround myself with. But back then I was looking at entrepreneurs and I was like, wow, who's this person? Like because I knew I want to do my own company anyways. Until you do it and you like this whole role of an entrepreneur, you realize like no one knows what they're doing. And you're like, oh shit, okay. It's like, when you're a child and you look at your parents.
Yeah. I didn't realize how stupid I was until I found my own company.
Yeah.
And I know nothing at all. But that's true because I think in India, if a 20-something-year-old comes to their parents and say, hey, I want to start my own business or have my own startup, I think now it's something that they would like welcome and accept. But if again, depends on the household. So I don't speak for the whole of the country.
Yes, right.
It's my personal experience. My parents were pretty chill. So when I told them that, hey, I want to go to, I want to start my own business or I want to play football, that was my first dream. I want to go to Germany, write books. They were pretty open about it. Okay. But in my surroundings, if like an 18, 19-year-old person would say that, I want to travel the world, take a gap year. The parents will be like, no, sorry, you have to focus on your career. Right. Whereas in Germany, if an 18, 19-year-old says that I want to start a business, they might be like, no, sorry. But if they say, oh, I want to go out, travel the world, they would be much more supportive for that.
Yeah, I think I would generally agree with because going out, it's kind of, it's limited, If you say, oh, I want to go abroad and just not do anything for the next 10 years, then and just travel, they would be like, also no. But like, if you do, I'm going to do a world trip for the next 3 months. They're like, yeah, because back then you're going to come back and continue down the path they expect you to.
So you can do that as long as you come back and, follow the
basically, path. Yeah. Okay. I mean, so that's like the expectation is that you come back. It's a way for you to get some global, you get some insights. But doing a company is a lot more, undecided where it goes. So it's seen as that bigger risk. So I think that's why one was more welcomed than the other. I mean, it's obviously very much always depends on the family. If the family has a background in entrepreneurship, it's a little different. But I think in general, it's kind of like that, yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of entrepreneurship, do you want to discuss about that a bit? About your experiences? So what was it about and how was it like for you to be your business owner?
Okay, that's a very big question.
Let's begin. What was it? About then?
Okay, so when I went to China in 2018, end of 2018, I initially started learning Chinese because my goal was to start my own company in China. But I also knew that I would need to know Chinese to do that, or that was at least my expectation towards myself. So I initially went to a university called Tsinghua, which was in Beijing. and to learn Chinese. And I learned Chinese for about 6 months. And then I dropped out because I met a few friends while my studies there, and we all wanted to start something together. So it was four people. And it was a really funny, random group of people. It was me, a German, just finishing university. Then there was one Tsinghua student. You have to know that Tsinghua is arguably the best university in China. So the people there, like the Chinese students, are really cracked. So we had one like Chinese girl, she was super smart, or is super smart. She joined us as well. Then one guy who was kind of like the main founder, he came from Harvard to Tsinghua and like studied Chinese. And then the third was this also super young but super smart kid. So like the four of us kind of starting, there was a weird group, but it was fun. I mean, we pivoted. In the end, we worked on a AI data analytics company, product for KOLs in China, which are influencers in China. That was the product we were building, and I did that for about 2.5 years. There was a lot in these 2.5 years. I don't know if you want to dive into that. You can.
I mean, sure, why not? If you're up for it.
Yeah, no, I mean, we can for sure. And then just to kind of give the timeline, after that, I started my second company, and then I joined another company, and then I slowly left. But I think that was the 5 years that I actually spent in China.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how was it to be your own boss or being in entrepreneurship?
I think it's very, very messy because, like, especially in entrepreneurship, there are all these questions that you suddenly have to ask yourself. At everything starts from zero. And especially if you're a first-time founder, you're like, you don't know where to start. And I guess you have like a few books here and there. Maybe you have some mentors here and there to guide you. But in the end, you have to be the one to answer these questions. And it's very, very difficult. But actually, like, it's not that difficult. That's the craziness. Like, the more you do it, the more you understand what it boils down to. But the first time you do it, the main issue is that there's so many things you like try to figure out. And usually what happens is that you focus on the wrong things. And the main failure of companies is that you focus on the wrong things, you don't make the progress that you expect, which is very normal. And then inside the company, like inside your team of co-founders, like there's unsatisfaction, and then there's like trouble, and then someone leaves, and it's like internal struggles. But yeah, no, it's really cool to be on boss in a sense where you have control over things you want to do, over things you want to where to go. But that's the dilemma, right? The moment you have full control, you don't know what to start first. There's so many problems at the same time. Just to kind of like draw the direction, like we had this in Germany, like you can grow up, do whatever. And that's almost difficult because like you can do so many things.
There's so many options.
There's so many options. And like if you kind of make that even worse, even more extreme in a company, there's so many problems, so many things to do. Like what do you do first? And that's like crazy difficult to handle in the very beginning.
It's so crazy. Like the grass is always, on the other side, because in India you only have 3 main options: the doctor, engineer, or what's the third one?
Doctor, engineering, and
accountant, I guess. But I mean, now it's also changing. I think Indians are getting, a lot is changing as well.
Lawyer,
yeah. But that's interesting. And how did it affect you from the German perspective? Because of course, not every German is the same. But I assume you were brought up in an environment where work-life balance was a thing, and 40-hour work weeks were pretty standard.
Right.
And then working in a Chinese setup where I assume they work like crazy as well. How was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I can only talk about my personal experience, right? I always liked. I never really came to the idea that I need to have a balanced work-life balance. I knew there was a German culture. I'm for sure I also took that perspective with me. However, when I went first to China, and like I started grinding like crazy, it came pretty natural to me. I always like felt that I can outgrind anyone else. I felt that I was super ambitious. I was very confident in myself. I had these big goals, and I was willing to grind as much as I could for it. And I did that. So yeah, that's why I think I think that's what scared me so much of Germany actually, is because I grew up in Germany and I could feel especially after high school, that things were becoming so stale, so comfortable. because Germany can be very comfortable. You have your work hours, and then you go home, and then you meet your friends. And I had that with my best friends there too. And, I loved them, like I had the best relation with them. But like I could see what the next 5 weekends will be. And it's super comfortable, but it scared me so much. And that was one of the big reasons why I wanted to leave Germany as well. So I can also see how many, many Germans really like that and embrace that kind of comfort and stability. But for me, it was something I struggled with and pushed me out. Yeah.
Interesting. So would you say that Germany is not a country for people to come and start their own business? It's not a land of opportunities like, in the US? Or?
No, yeah. So yeah, it's a good question. So there's a reason why there are not that many startups in Germany as there in the US. It's very cultural. But also like in Germany, the employee has a lot of rights, which is good for the employee. And especially in big companies, I think it also makes a lot of sense. However, for like startup companies or like smaller companies with not that much revenue, it can be quite tough, right? We have like insurance that you pay. They're really good, a lot of rights on the other side. So I think that's just one of the reasons that I'm kind of highlighting. But I think if I tried to like dive into it, I would probably find a lot more. That a lot of these things make it a lot more difficult to start a company in Germany. There's not an expectation to like grind out, like to find the German dream, the American dream. The German dream is slightly different. It's a little more stable and comfortable. And for sure in the US, there's a lot more acceptance towards, there's a drive for excellence and acceptance of really investing the time for it. And that's not necessarily the culture in Germany. However, obviously, we also have great startups in Germany too. So I do think that if you are a great founder, you can build a great culture. You can also find the right people that drive that culture. But I think the subset of people is probably way smaller in Germany than it would be in the US. So then as a great founder, you have to find the right people.
Yeah.
And that's also really tough.
Yeah, I think Germany really makes sure that the employers are not cutting any corners when it comes to human life and employment. Like when I started my own company here as well, I realized how much money I have to pay to employ somebody here, not only as salary, but all their insurances and contributing to their, versicherungs and all those things. And now when I'm going back as an employee, I feel like maybe I should not ask for a raise, because if I ask for a raise of 100 euros, the employer would have to pay double of that in taxes and stuff as well. Yeah, that is. So Germany is more like a dreamland for employees and not so much for employers per se.
Yeah, I mean, so I think that if I, like right now, I want to create like an AI company, and that's my primary goal, probably yes, Germany is not it. I can, however, see that Germany as a country is still quite a big economic hub. It drives a lot of economic growth, partly being the economic also growth engine, along with other countries of Europe, that there are definitely a lot of opportunities here, because like the moment in the US, there's also more competition because there's so much more enablement. If you find a specific niche, if you for some reason think that the German market and then the European market is attracting, is a good fit for you as a founder or you as the product that you're building, I can really, really see how it still makes sense to build a business in Germany. I also see like in Web3 and crypto, companies are building offices in Munich because that the regulation is so strict in Munich, which implies that if you can have if you have a company that considers all the regulations in Munich, it will be legal across the world.
Yeah. Cool. That sounds interesting. I think from an Indian perspective, I always feel when people come from India or from any other country to Germany, they're leaving their families behind. And they're not satisfied with just the employee benefits. They want to have more, because while Germans can go to their friends or their home afterwards, we don't have that. We don't have our family here. So the goal is always to get as much as we can and grow bigger and bigger. Maybe that is why a lot of expats are a bit of a grinding mindset and try to like tear that wheel.
Yeah.
But that was very interesting. Yeah.
I mean, like, I think that's a very interesting point. I think that's why, like, if you look at all the unicorn companies from the US, how many are partly or mainly founded by immigrants? There's a crazy percentage. I think it was like something about like 60%, which is insane. And that just shows that if you come to a country as an immigrant, you just have there's so many things more at stake. Even if you're second generation immigrant, I think there's also your parents went through so much to bring you here, and like if you I think that's nothing new, right? But I'm just like, for sure, if you are local German and you grew up in a very comfortable environment, your parents were comfortable, you're comfortable, the comfort doesn't stop. And from a capitalistic standpoint, from this founder standpoint, you're like, okay, so where do we get all this? Everyone has to feed into the economy. Like, how do we get our economy up again if everyone's kind of more comfortable? However, I think also I see, like, the reason I'm now back in Europe is also because I start valuing that comfort way more than I did when I was young. And I think that's something where, like you always say, oh, when I retire, I'm back in Europe, at least, or I'm back in Germany. That's because it's a good life, right? Like, if you're all about vision and motivation and, you want to grind your way out, like, you have many different options and you can, like, there's certain ones that are better than others. But if you talk about quality of life, I do think that Europe is by far like one of the centers of having a very good quality of life. Even also in comparison to US, any country. I think that's why a lot of the rich Americans, they travel not in the US, they travel in Europe.
Yeah.
I
think it's all about, do you want to work to live or do you want to live to work?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But I think it was very insightful to know your perspective as a German native about businesses and all those things. I think we can cut it short here. Okay. Thanks again for being on this podcast, and
thank you. No, thanks for welcoming me, and I hope it's useful to anyone else.
I hope so too.
Awesome. Thank you.
And it's a tie. Looks like both India and Germany brought their A game. Well, there will be a rematch for sure, because next time there will be a winner. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out. Until next time.